What started as desperate improvised anti-tank guns strapped to truck beds became the most specialized tank killers ever designed. Today, we track the complete evolution of tank destroyers across every single era, from crude field weapons to modern wheeled predators. This is the story of tank destroyers. Starting off with World War I, the birth of anti-tank warfare. When British tanks first rolled across no man's land in 1916, armies scrambled to create weapons that could stop these armored beasts. Mauser Tiger. Now, this is the world's first anti-tank rifle, introduced by Germany in 1918. Firing a massive 13.2 millimeters armor-piercing round, it could punch through early tank armor at close range. It was basically a giant bolt-action sniper rifle that weighed nearly 40 pounds and kicked like an angry mule. Crews needed 2 men just to operate it effectively. Up next, the K-bullets, or SMK rounds. These were Germany's clever ammunition solution, introduced in 1917. Standard infantry rifles could fire these specialized armor-piercing bullets, giving every German soldier a chance to damage tanks. They weren't particularly effective, but they represented the first mass-issued anti-tank capability. The French 37mm TRP MLE in 1916. This was revolutionary because it was the first purpose-built anti-tank gun, small, mobile, and designed specifically to defeat armor rather than being a modified field piece. French gunners could manhandle it into position and engage tanks with direct fire. Continuing, the German 7.7cm FK-96 in a modified field artillery pressed into anti-tank service. These guns proved that larger calibers could devastate early tanks. The problem was mobility. These heavy guns struggled to keep up with fast-moving battles. Then, improvised armored cars with anti-tank guns. Various nations experimented with mounting captured or purpose-built guns on truck chassis. These crude vehicles were essentially the conceptual ancestors of true tank destroyers. Mobile firepower without heavy armor. Next up, the British 6-pounder anti-tank gun prototypes. Developed late in the war, these weapons set the standard for interwar anti-tank development. By the time they were ready, the armistice had already been signed. Let's move on to the interwar period, where doctrine and design began to solidify. The Renault FT with 37mm Putos SA-18. France experimented with self-propelled configurations using their revolutionary FT tank. While primarily an infantry support vehicle, variants with the 37mm gun represented early thinking about mobile anti-tank platforms. These experiments taught designers that mobility and firepower needed better balance. Up next, the British Birch gun, 1925. Mounting an 18-pounder gun on a tank chassis. This experimental vehicle explored self-propelled artillery concepts. Though not a pure tank destroyer, it influenced thinking about mobile gun platforms that could engage armor at range. Now, this is the Soviet BA-6 and BA-10 series, 1936 to 1938. These heavily armed armored cars packed 45mm guns in fully rotating turrets. Fast, reliable, and capable of engaging enemy armor, they saw extensive combat in the Spanish Civil War and early World War II. The BA-10 became the most produced Soviet armored car of its era, proving that wheeled platforms could deliver serious anti-tank punch. The next one, the German Pak 35-36, introduced in 1928. This towed 37mm anti-tank gun became the standard for multiple nations and directly influenced self-propelled designs. Nicknamed the door knocker by German troops in later years, it was cutting edge when introduced but quickly became obsolete as tank armor thickened. Following this, the French Lafley W15 TCC, 1937. France mounted a 47mm anti-tank gun on a 6x6 truck chassis, creating one of the first true tank destroyer concepts. It featured excellent mobility and a powerful gun, but minimal armor protection. Only small numbers were built before the war. Next, the TACOM R1 planning. Romania began developing tank destroyer concepts in the late 1930s, though production wouldn't materialize until World War II. These early designs showed how smaller nations recognized the value of affordable mobile anti-tank firepower. The Marmon-Harrington CDLS variants. These American-designed light tanks were exported internationally with various armament configurations. Some variants featured enhanced anti-tank capabilities, spreading mobile at doctrine globally. Now let's look at World War II, when tank destroyers reached their peak. Panzerjäger I, 1940. Germany created the first true self-propelled tank destroyer by mounting a captured Czech 47mm gun on the tiny Panzer I chassis. It was a desperate improvisation, thinly armored and top-heavy, but it established the template. Mobile gun platform, minimal armor, ambush tactics. Up next, the Marder II series, 1942. Built on the Panzer II chassis with a 75mm Pak-40 gun, the Marder II offered serious firepower in a relatively mobile package. Its high profile and open-topped fighting compartment made it vulnerable, but the 75mm could kill any Allied tank at combat range. The Marder III. Germany mounted the same 75mm gun on captured Czech 38T chassis, creating another effective improvisation. The Marder series proved that obsolete tank chassis could gain new life as tank destroyer platforms. Now this is the Stu-G 3 assault gun series, 1940 to 1945. Originally designed as infantry support, the Stu-G 3 became Germany's most produced armored fighting vehicle with over 10,000 built. Its low profile, thick frontal armor, and powerful 75mm gun made it devastatingly effective in the tank destroyer role. Stu-G units claimed more tank kills than any other German AFV. Next, the Nashorn, also called Hornisse, 1943. This lightly armored vehicle mounted the fearsome 88mm Pak-43 gun, giving German crews the ability to engage enemy armor at extreme ranges. It could penetrate any Allied tank from well beyond their effective return fire distance. The Jagdpanzer IV, 1944. By mounting a 75mm gun in a fully enclosed, well-armored superstructure on the Panzer IV chassis, Germany created a proper tank destroyer. Its low silhouette made it difficult to spot, and its sloped armor provided excellent protection. Following this, the Hetzer, 1944. Cheap, compact, and surprisingly effective, the Hetzer mounted a 75mm gun on the Czech 38T chassis. Despite cramped conditions and a limited traverse, it became one of Germany's most successful late-war designs, with production continuing after the war. Meet the Ferdinand, later renamed Elephant, 1943. Weighing nearly 65 tons, this behemoth mounted an 88mm gun behind massive armor up to 200mm thick. It was the heaviest tank destroyer ever used in combat. The Ferdinand's firepower was legendary, but mechanical unreliability and lack of defensive machine guns made it vulnerable to infantry. Continue watching to see the Cold War tank destroyers. The Jagdpanther, 1944. Many consider this the best balanced German tank destroyer design, combining the Panther's excellent chassis with an 88mm gun and well-sloped armor. It was fast, deadly, and survivable. Only limited numbers reached the front due to production challenges. Up next, the Jagdtiger, 1944. The ultimate expression of German tank destroyer philosophy, mounted a massive 128mm gun capable of defeating any Allied armor at absurd ranges. Weighing over 70 tons, it was painfully slow and mechanically troubled, but absolutely terrifying when it worked. The M10 Wolverine series, 1942. America's standard tank destroyer featured a 3-inch gun and an open-top turret on a modified Sherman chassis. Over 6,000 were produced, serving with U.S. and Allied forces throughout the war. It emphasized mobility over armor, following American tank destroyer doctrine. Now, this is the M18 Hellcat, 1943, the fastest tracked armored vehicle of World War II, capable of nearly 60 miles per hour. Its 76mm gun and lightning speed made it perfect for flanking attacks and rapid repositioning. American crews loved the Hellcat for its agility and reliability, even if its thin armor made it vulnerable. The M36 Jackson, 1944. When American forces needed heavier firepower to counter German heavy tanks, the M36 delivered with its powerful 90mm gun. It could reliably penetrate Panther and Tiger armor, finally giving U.S. tank destroyer units the punch they needed. Next, the British Archer, 1944. One of the oddest tank destroyers ever built featured a rear-facing 17-pounder gun on a Valentine chassis. Crews aimed by positioning the entire vehicle. Despite this bizarre configuration, the Archer's powerful gun made it effective in ambush positions. The Su-85, 1943. The Soviet Union mounted an 85mm gun on the reliable T-34 chassis, creating a low-profile, well-armored tank destroyer. It provided Soviet forces with mobile anti-tank capability when they desperately needed to counter German heavy armor. Following this, the Su-100, 1944. Upgraded with a powerful 100mm gun, the Su-100 became one of the war's most effective tank destroyers. Its combination of firepower, armor, and mobility made it a formidable opponent that remained in service for decades after the war. The Isu-152 heavy assault gun, 1943. Nicknamed the Beast Killer by Soviet crews, this monster mounted a 152mm gun howitzer on the Is-2 heavy tank chassis. While primarily an assault gun, it proved devastatingly effective against German heavy tanks, with its massive shells capable of ripping turrets clean off. Continuing with the Cold War, when guided missiles began replacing big guns. The ASU-57, 1950s. The Soviet Union developed this tiny airborne tank destroyer with a 57mm gun. Light enough to be airdropped, it gave Soviet airborne forces mobile anti-tank capability, though its thin armor made it vulnerable to everything. Up next, the ASU-85, 1959. A larger airborne destroyer mounting an 85mm gun, the ASU-85 provided more firepower for Soviet airborne divisions. It could engage NATO tanks effectively while remaining air deployable. The M56 Scorpion, United States, 1953. Mounting a 90mm gun with virtually no armor protection, the Scorpion was designed for airborne operations. It was essentially a gun with wheels that could destroy tanks, but offered its crew almost no protection. Next, the M50 Ontus, 1955. One of the most unusual tank destroyers ever built mounted 6 106mm recoilless rifles on a light track chassis. It looked like a mechanical porcupine and delivered devastating volleys of fire. Marines used it extensively in Vietnam, though not in its intended anti-tank role. Now, this is the Cannon Jagdpanzer, West Germany, 1965. Purpose-built to counter Soviet armor in the Fulda Gap, this sleek, low-profile tank destroyer mounted a 90mm gun with excellent mobility. Over 750 were built, forming a crucial part of West German defensive strategy. Its design emphasized ambush tactics, speed, and first-shot kills. The Raketen Jagdpanzer series. West Germany converted many Cannon Jagdpanzers to carry anti-tank guided missiles, reflecting the shift from guns to missiles. These ADGM carriers provided long-range precision firepower. Following this, the Jaguar 1 and Jaguar 2, West Germany, 1970s to 1980s. These wheeled platforms carried TOW missiles, offering excellent mobility and modern guided firepower. The shift to wheeled vehicles reflected changing warfare philosophy. The Type 60, Japan, 1960. Japan's unique tank destroyer mounted twin 106mm recoilless rifles that could be elevated and traversed independently. This unusual configuration reflected Japan's limited defense doctrine and tight budget. Next up, the SDRV-103S tank, Sweden, 1966. While technically a main battle tank, the turretless S-tank functioned much like a tank destroyer. Its fixed 105mm gun required the entire vehicle to aim, and its low profile made it devastatingly effective in ambush positions. The M901 improved TOW vehicle, United States, 1979. Mounting a retractable TOW missile launcher on an M113 chassis, the ITV provided mechanized infantry with precision anti-tank capability through the 1980s and beyond. And our last category is the modern era, where wheeled tank destroyers dominate. Now, this is the B-1 Centauro, Italy, 1991. This revolutionary 8x8 wheeled platform mounted a 105mm gun with fire control systems rivaling main battle tanks. Fast, agile, and capable of rapid deployment, the Centauro proved that wheeled vehicles could deliver genuine tank-killing firepower. Italy's army and multiple export customers validated the concept. Up next, the Recoilless, South Africa, 1990. Mounting a 76mm gun on a wheeled chassis, the Recoilless emphasized speed and operational range for Africa's vast distances. Later upgraded to 105mm, it proved wheeled tank destroyers could operate in harsh environments. The M1128 Striker Mobile Gun System, United States, 2002. Mounting a 105mm gun on the Striker chassis, the MGS provided rapid response firepower for U.S. brigades. Its automated loader and advanced fire control made it lethal despite relatively light armor. Next, the PTL-02, China, 2000s. China's 100mm wheeled tank destroyer gave PLA forces mobile firepower for rapid deployment and border defense. Its design reflected lessons learned from Western wheeled tank destroyers. The 2S-25 Sprut SD, Russia, 2005. This unique amphibious light tank destroyer mounted a 125mm gun on an airdroppable chassis. It gave Russian airborne forces firepower equivalent to main battle tanks while maintaining strategic mobility. Following this, the Centauro II, Italy, 2020. Upgraded with a 120mm smoothbore gun, the Centauro II represents the pinnacle of wheeled tank destroyer design. Its firepower now matches modern MBTs while retaining superior strategic mobility. Type 16 Maneuver Combat Vehicle, representing the future of the tank destroyer. Introduced by Japan in 2016, this 8x8 wheeled platform mounts a 105mm gun with cutting-edge digital fire control. With rapid deployment capability, networked combat systems, and precision firepower, the Type 16 shows that the specialized tank killer concept lives on, adapting to modern warfare's demand for speed, flexibility, and precision firepower in the 21st century.